Alright, I'm checking here to see if I am in fact live. Am I live? I am quite alive, but I'm not sure if I am live. Right, it would appear that I am live and accounted for, everybody. And I've got the chat open, so I can see that. That's good. I've got 0 views so far, but I'm okay with that. Now, I've gone over these questions a few times today. Best life insurance companies. I don't think I've covered that, but here are my recommendations. Would be something like for term, banner term, obviously, Pacific, Prudential. Those are great term companies. Ethos will do in a pinch. Let's say you are in the mood for life insurance and you don't want to work with anyone. Just if you get one of their policies, not one of the ones that they outsource, if you get one of theirs, make sure you read the fine print, please. And don't start your application unless you're confident you are going to finish it. I've seen websites where that information is in fact sold to, how do I say, how do I describe a pyramid scheme without saying pyramid scheme? MLM, not MLM, that's still multi-level marketing, and IMO perhaps, where the information is sold to a bunch of people and they will call you. And they might not go with Ethos, but they will go with another carrier, but that information is in fact sold to other people. So my recommendations would be Banner Term, Pacific, Prudential. If you're a senior citizen, you want to cover the cost of a burial or cremation, then I would go with something like Mutual of Omaha, provided you're in relatively decent health, nothing beyond a high blood pressure or high cholesterol. Life insurance without medical exams. Most life insurance companies don't require medical exams anymore. Now, some of the cases where you might be requested to do a medical exam is if you've lost a lot of weight over the course of a year, if you've had a heart attack or stroke or something like that in the past few years, maybe, but typically no. Most of the time, the medical exams are going to be required for a larger policy. With Banner Term, you can get up to $15 million worth of coverage. And typically after 3 or 4 million, that's when they start saying, hey, you're asking for a lot of coverage here. Let's make sure you are in fact healthy. So they'll set you up with the Quest Diagnostic Center, and they will check your height, your weight, your blood pressure. They might draw some blood to check to make sure that your levels are good, nothing out of the ordinary. So typically you don't have to. Typically people looking for $500, $1 million, $2 million worth of coverage, they don't have to take medical exams. That is a relic of the past in most situations. When should I get life insurance? When you get married, when you get a mortgage, when you have a kid, and when you're looking to cover the cost of a burial or cremation. Those are the big ones. I would recommend, if there's one time you absolutely get it, is if you have kids. If you create a human being, you should have a life insurance policy to protect that human being in the event of your loss. Life insurance for seniors, parents, young families. Well, life insurance for seniors, like I said, that's Mutual of Omaha. That would be my recommendation. If you have serious health conditions, then I would probably look for other options. Colonial Penn, I don't really like the fact that they don't advertise what they are. Like they're not open about that 2-year waiting period. It is in the fine print. That's fine, but and I'm not sure how they discuss it once they get you on the phone, if they tell you that it's a 2-year waiting period for natural causes. But if you've got serious health issues, I would go with a place like a company maybe like Corebridge, AIG, Great Western is a decent one. But if you've got serious health conditions, my recommendation would be to work with a broker so they can in fact do a search for the best company for you. All right, and I think I've covered all of these questions a few times today, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm just online wrapping up for the day. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Or if you would like to remain silent, which is your right, that is fine too. I can go over some more questions. Let's see, how do you find if someone has a life insurance policy? There is a a great website you can go to. Like, this is provided you've already checked the where the life insurance policy should be in the drawer, where the important papers are. You've checked their bank account to see if there are any drafts or anything. If you checked all of that, if you checked all of that and you can't find any drafts or anything like that, here is a website you can go to see if someone had an active life insurance policy at the time of their death. This is the NAIC.org website. You will need their social security number and a death certificate to have them search for you. It typically takes up to a week to find out, but that is also a great resource you can have to find out if someone has a life insurance policy. What happens if I miss a premium payment? If you miss premium payment, insurance companies give you a 30-day grace period. So if you miss it, if you have an agent, the agent should get notified that you missed a payment, and they can call and say, "Hey, Miss Jones, Mr. Jones, it looks like the payment was missed. Did you switch bank accounts? Did your credit card expired, or are you just tired of the policy?" So it's useful to work with an agent. Make sure it's an agent that's been around for a while. Most of them aren't. They're not durable, but yeah, if you miss a payment, you get 30 days. After the 30 days, the policy typically cancels. And if it's a term policy, you have to reapply, which could have some financial impacts, especially if you've had the policy for a longer period of time. You have to reapply, and you're going to be older when you reapply, so the prices will go up. So just keep that in mind. But if you have an agent, they should contact you and if you miss a payment. Can I have multiple life insurance policies? Absolutely, you can. For term policies, it's not unusual for people to have multiple term policies. You know, once you get married, get one. Once you get a house, get one. Once you have kids, get one. And you know, you get new ones and you cancel old ones like throughout the course of your life. So it's not unusual. Where the insurance companies really have an issue with you having multiple policies is if the face amount of your policy is more than 30 times your annual income. That usually life insurance companies will look at that and they're like, "Hey, you know, Bob's making $100,000 a year, but he's got $10 million worth of coverage. There's a red flag there." So usually 30 times is where they kind of stop issuing policies for people. 25 to 30 is usually what life insurance companies look at, but you can't have multiple policies for sure. How much life insurance do I need to cover my family / mortgage? The recommendation is 10 to 12 times your income, your pre-tax income. Life insurance isn't taxed, so you take that money, you invest it, and the idea is that you will live off the interest of that investment without touching the principal. So that would be like an income replacement amount. So 10 to 12 times your annual income. You know, the death benefit is not taxed, so you will get more than your 10 to 12 times annual salary. Is life insurance worth it? 1,000% it is, especially if you have kids. If you have kids, it's a million times worth it. It is underpriced in my opinion. Like, I think if with the protection that it provides, I think it should be 4 to 5 times more expensive. I really do. Like, if you think about like what it protects your family against losing their most valuable asset. But yes, life insurance is worth it. Typically, people with young kids can get a policy for around $50 or less a month, depending on how much coverage they select and their health conditions, obviously. But yes, it is absolutely worth it. What is a beneficiary and how do I choose one? Straight up answer, straight up question. It's a beneficiary is the person who's going to receive the death benefit, the money when you die. How do you choose one? You can pick me. I am open to be your beneficiary. No questions asked. No. You pick the beneficiary, like based on like the person that is going to take care of the things that you were taking care of. So if you're married, more than likely that's going to be your wife, your husband, your partner. It's going to be that's going to be the person responsible for taking care of the obligations that you had before you passed away. That's the best way to choose a beneficiary. Can I get life insurance with pre-existing conditions / bad health? It depends on what you mean by bad health, right? Now, if you've got serious health issues, then more than likely you're not going to be able to get a day one coverage policy, and you're not going to be able to get one of those larger term policies. So you are going to be resigned to a 2-year waiting period, and it's going to be a much smaller policy. But it really depends on what you mean by bad health. All right, how long does life insurance take to pay out? It depends. Typically, for the larger amounts, they give themselves a up to a 4-week buffer. So if there's $1 million policy, it might take a week or so. Typically, for final expense, Uh, it's about a week for final expense once they receive all of the policy information. Like once they receive the death claim, all of the paperwork's there. Usually they pay out within the same week. For the larger amounts, it could take a couple of weeks, but still nothing drastic. They do give themselves a 4-week buffer, but that is not uncommon. What is the difference between term and whole life? That is a great question. A term life insurance policy lasts for a certain term of your life. So it lasts for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Some of them go up to 40 years. One of the companies I represent goes up to 40 years of coverage. And what it's designed to do, it's a much larger policy for a lot less money every month. So, $1 million worth of coverage could be $50 a month, and it will last for 20, 30 years. And at the end of the term, it does cancel. But what it's designed to do is to protect your family while you're taking care of your obligations. Like you're raising the kids, you're paying off the mortgage, you're building up your retirement account. So if something were to happen to you, the people that depend on you will receive the death benefit to kind of replace that income, replace those responsibilities that you were taking care of. Now, a whole life insurance policy is a much smaller policy amount for a lot more money. Typically, for a term policy, you can get 10 times the coverage amount for 1/5 of the cost. So whole life policies are best suited to take care of a burial or a cremation. They last your whole life. They're not going to cancel. The prices aren't going to go up. Nothing like that. If you're looking for burial coverage, I would start with somewhere between $5,000 to $15,000 worth of coverage, and I would probably budget about $60 to $70 a month, depending on your age. How do you buy life insurance? That's a good question. There are tens of thousands of life insurance agents in the United States, and any one of them would be more than happy to help you out. But if you want to go online, my recommendation would be to go directly to a carrier's website. For term, I would go with Banner Term, Prudential, Pacific, top-rated companies like that. They've got the best prices. If you are a senior citizen, if you're going to do it online, go directly to a website like Mutual of Omaha's website and do it that way. Now, if you go to any companies outside of those, make sure you read the fine print, right? Make sure that you read the fine print so you know what you're buying, right? So you want to make sure you know what you're buying, because a lot of times, like the secret is in the fine print. So be careful when you do that by yourself, or if you're doing it with someone else, right? If you're doing it with a broker, make sure that you know what you're buying, please. Number 10, do I need life insurance for a mortgage? The bank does not care if you die. They do not care. They'll send out condolence cards, but they require you to have homeowners insurance, but they do not require you to have life insurance. So if your family can't make those mortgage payments, they're more than happy to repossess the house and make a profit from selling it. More than likely, it's going to be worth more than what they lent you the money for. So it's not required. I recommend it, especially if you want to build some generational wealth. I would recommend spending the $30-$40 a month to have a policy in place to cover the mortgage. It's very fast. It's very easy. If you go to Banner Term, or if you use my website, my agent link to Banner Term, it's really fast, really easy, really affordable, and I think it's worth it. Number 9, is life insurance taxable? It is, in fact, not taxable. Uncle Sam gets $0. So if you hate Uncle Sam, get a life insurance policy, and when you die, your family doesn't pay any taxes. That is as of today. I don't think there's been any talks of starting to tax it, so that's a good thing. But yeah, it's not taxed. Who needs life insurance? Number 8 is, who needs life insurance? I think there's several situations where life insurance can be needed. Like when you get married, I think if you depend on each other's income, you should have a policy to protect your spouse or partner. I think that's a need. If you buy a house, I think you need to have a policy in place to protect the mortgage. I think that's a need. If you are looking to cover the cost of your burial or cremation, I think that is a good time to do it as well. I think if you have kids, if you create a human being, like if you make a human, and you bring them into this world, I think that is the time where you absolutely, positively, 1,000%, unless you are a multimillionaire or you can't qualify for a policy, that is when you get a policy. If you have kids, it is your responsibility to make sure those kids are taken care of if you are not there. There are very few exceptions to this. I think that is the time where you absolutely need it. Absolutely. All right, number 7. What does life insurance cover? It's life insurance. It's not. There are no restrictions on how you spend the life insurance payout, right? They're not going to like ask you for an itemized receipt list if you get a death benefit. They're not going to ask your beneficiary to say, "Hey, please provide us receipts on how you spent this money." No, it's just like a check. It's just like a check from an employer, tax free. It goes to your beneficiary, and how they spend the money is completely up to them. There's nothing that restricts them from doing whatever they want to with it. So, all right, let's see. What are the different types? Term and whole life. I've covered that. There is a third type, index universal life insurance. I would stay away from those unless you really trust the broker and you have a lot of extra money to spend. Let's say you've already maxed out your 401k, your Roth, you've got some side investments as well, and you're maybe making over $200,000 a year. So I'd stay away from IULs. Term and whole life are going to be the most common for the most people. How much does life insurance cost? I would say for under 45, I'd probably budget about $50 or less. Over 45, I would probably start with 50 and maybe go up to 70, depending on how much coverage you need, obviously. If you're a senior citizen looking to cover the cost of a burial or cremation, I'd say if you're 65, I'd probably budget between $60 to $70 for a burial coverage amount. So it really depends on the type of coverage you're looking for and the amount, obviously, along with your health conditions. How much life insurance do I need? If you're looking for income replacement, 10 to 12 times your annual income pre-tax. And if you're a senior citizen, I would recommend $5,000 to $15,000 for a burial or a cremation. Do I really need life insurance? You really need life insurance if you have a kid under the age of 18. Very few exceptions. I think I mentioned that before. But other situations, if you've got a spouse and they depend on you and you don't have it, I don't agree with it. But you are two adults. If you want to cover the cost of your burial or cremation and you don't have a policy, and your kids can afford it, I don't know if you really need it in that situation. I worked with a lady. She was 70 something years old, and she wanted to get a policy to cover the cost of her cremation. She was living in a retirement community. I think they took her money and they gave her an allotment every month. So she was looking for a life insurance policy, but her daughter was a traveling nurse. I think her daughter was making like 300,000 plus a year. And my question was like, why do you want to get this if your daughter can cover it since you're on a fixed income? So not everybody needs it, despite what the agents say. How does life insurance work? Okay, good question. Life insurance is a federally and state regulated contract between you and a life insurance company. Your end of the contract is to make the monthly payments called the premiums. Their end of the contract is to pay the death benefit to your beneficiary when you die. All right, let's see what do we have here. We've got what is life insurance? I think I just mentioned that. And that concludes the questions. All right. So if anyone has anything at all that they would like to ask, and I will turn the lights on here in a minute. It got dark on me, and I apologize for that. I will turn the lights on here in a second. But if anyone has any questions, you are more than welcome to ask. But I did cover the top 20 questions. All right, perfect. I just wanted to see if there was anyone in the chat. Anyone in here besides me? Any questions whatsoever, you're more than welcome to ask. If you saw some advertisements, you got questions about that, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Most of those advertisements are, in fact, fake. They are from data brokers. Their intent is to get your information so it can be sold. So that if you started looking for life insurance and it's like, get a quote here right now, and you start filling out a form, it's asking for your email address, your phone number, it's asking for your beneficiary, it's asking like some health conditions, and then they say click here to get your quote. What they're doing is they're gathering your information. It's going to be sold to at least one, probably more people, and they will call you multiple times a day. So avoid that. If you're looking for it online, go directly to a carrier website. If you're unsure which carrier to go to, I will be more than happy to point you in the direction of a carrier or help you do it myself. All right, let's see, what else do we have? I'm trying to see if there are any more questions that have popped up. Typically, the most common question is the term and whole life. So some people have like a lot of negative things to say about term. Some people have a lot of negative things to say about whole life. The truth is, term is phenomenal if you're young. You've got a lot of responsibilities. You need a lot of coverage for a specific period of time. That's what it's designed to do. Whole life is, I think, not a great investment vehicle. It's more suited for people looking to cover the cost of a burial or cremation. I don't think there's any reason why a 35-year-old, unless they have health conditions, should go for a whole life insurance policy. Let's see. I think another question is, how much does life insurance cost? Now that's where I think that's why a lot of people are reluctant to look into life insurance, because life insurance can get pricey real fast. It depends on who you work with and how many additions they try to add on to it. For me, I like to get people what is needed and try to get the best prices. So I'm not really looking to add on all of these frivolous things to pad my pocket. Let's see. How much life insurance do you need? I mean, even if you don't know, like $500,000 is better than $0, right? But typically 10 to 12 times or all of the debt wiped out. That's a good starting place. What are some of the more common questions that I have seen? Best life insurance companies, I think I've covered that. I would say Banner Term is hands down the best term coverage company. Mutual of Omaha, they're not the cheapest, they're not the most expensive, but I consider them the best for the whole life market. Let's see. Yeah, I guess another thing I would warn people about is the fine print, right? Please, like, if you do it by yourself or if you work with someone, make sure you know what you're buying. I've seen a lot of people who thought they had a term policy, it was just accidental. I've seen people who thought they had a whole life policy, but it was a term policy. Not only was it term, it was renewable term, meaning that the prices kept going up and up and up until they cancel it. So you really have to read the fine print. You have to trust the people you work with. And if you do get a policy review, which I do encourage people to get policy reviews, but only with someone that will tell you if you have a good policy. Like if someone's going to like review your policy and they're just going to try to replace it no matter whether or not it's good, I wouldn't go with them. But always trust or always verify. Like always verify. So I think I've gone through all 20 of the top 20 questions asked on Google today, along with some ancillary questions here. And the big one is, when should I get life insurance? When you have kids. When you make a human, that is when you should get a life insurance policy. You should spend the $20, $30, $40, $50 a month. Spend the 15 minutes to fill out the application and get a policy. If there are little humans that depend on you, if I get one thing across in all of these videos, it's if you've got little kids, get a life insurance policy. Every other situation I can kind of excuse. I can kind of understand at least a little bit, but that is one that I cannot not understand why people wouldn't do that. All right, so any other things? Quiet chat here, guys. You're very quiet. Let's see. Let's see. I'm gonna see if there are any more questions on Google that I might have missed. Best life insurance company, I covered that. Life insurance without a medical exam, I covered that. Most life insurance companies today don't require medical exams unless you get a massive amount of coverage. They don't require it. Let's say like $4 million plus, $4 million plus, that's when they will ask you to go into Quest Diagnostics to do the blood pressure, height, weight. They'll check a few things. When should I buy life insurance? When you have kids, have a mortgage, when you get married, whenever you want to cover your funeral or cremation. Is life insurance worth it for seniors or retirees? That's a great question, actually. If you've got the money to cover the cost of your burial or cremation and you're a senior, then maybe you could go into a funeral home and prepay. That's definitely an option. The thing is, if you don't have the money to cover that and you want something in place to cover it, that would be a good time to do it. But yeah, if you've got the option to go ahead and pay for it, or if your kids can pay for it, let's say your kids are wealthy, maybe you're on a fixed income, but your kids have a lot of money, see if they're willing to pay for the cost of the burial cremation. Let's see, number 25, can smokers get life insurance? They can, but it is drastically more expensive. Like, smoking is one of the biggest red flags that life insurance companies have. That is a huge one. Typically, it's like 3 to 4 times more expensive than someone who doesn't smoke. So just keep that in mind. My recommendation would be to get a policy in place if you are a smoker. And once you're smoke free for 2 to 5 years, that's when the life insurance companies start to reevaluate your smoking status, and you can always get a new policy at a lower rate, provided your health conditions haven't changed. Universal life insurance, I think I covered that. It's pretty much like it's an investment account with a life insurance component. Not really suited for most people. How much life insurance does a stay-at-home parent need? I would say they would probably need at least enough money to cover the kids' expenses for what 15, 20 years. I don't think $250,000 is a horrible place to start. If you're a stay-at-home parent, odds are you're going to be on the younger side of things, so you can get more coverage for inexpensive. Does life insurance cover suicide? There are in the first 2 years, no. Um, and then afterwards, it depends on the exclusions that are in your life insurance policy. So if you commit suicide in the first 2 years, no, there's $0. After the 2 years, it depends on what exclusions that they have in the policy. Sometimes they have suicide as an exclusion past 2 years. Sometimes some kind of criminal activity will be an exclusion even after the first 2 years. But in the first 2 years, no, and after 2 years, it depends on the exclusions that are added to your policy or in your policy. First of all, I don't recommend suicide. If you are in that situation, please seek help. Can I get life insurance on my parents, children, or spouse? Yeah, you can. If it is your parents, they have to authorize you to get a life insurance policy on them unless they're suffering from some kind of cognitive impairment and you are the executor of the estate, and you can do it then. Your kids, you are their parent, so you can get a life insurance policy on them. Your spouse is going to be the same thing. You have to get their authorization before you can get a life insurance policy on them. What are the cheapest life insurance rates? I think Banner Term has some of the lowest rates in the United States for term. Also, Pacific, Prudential, Corebridge has a decent term life insurance policy. For whole life, I don't go with the cheapest for whole life. I just don't. There are too many whole life insurance companies, and I would spend a little extra money on Mutual of Omaha if I were looking for whole life. What happens to life insurance in a divorce? Now that depends, right? For life insurance and divorce, if it's a term policy, there's no cash value or anything. So what you have to do is change the beneficiary. If it was your spouse, you have to get a change of beneficiary form, go to a notary, get that changed over to the new beneficiary. If it is a whole life insurance policy and there is a cash value associated with it, that is fair game for the divorce attorneys, and they can set it up where your spouse would get half of the cash value. So that is something to be aware of. Is life insurance a good investment? I don't think life insurance is a great investment vehicle. I think it's more for protection, right? That's why term life insurance is so inexpensive, is because it protects your investments, right? It protects you. Like, you are going to build the wealth, you're going to pay off the house, you're going to build out the retirement funds, you're going to raise the kids, provide them with shelter, food, clothing, after school activities. So you're protecting you, right? You're protecting what you're bringing to the table for the family. As far as investments, the whole life policies for the first 3 years, most of the fees, most of the money you pay in goes to the agent and to the insurance companies. It starts building cash value after the third year. It's a slower rate, but it does in fact build. For the index universal funds, the first 3 years are the same as a whole life policy. You can't take any money out for the first 7 years without a heavy penalty. After that, it does build money based on market performance, typically capped at 10 to 12%. So if the market goes up 10%, your money goes up 10%. If the market goes down, you don't lose any money. That's one of the selling points. So that it could potentially be a nice like ancillary investment for the index universal funds, but those are typically a lot more expensive, and it's recommended that you already have investments in your 401k, your Roth, and maybe even some side investments before you consider it. Also, with that one, I can't stress this enough. Make sure that you trust the person you're working with, and make sure that it is structured properly. Otherwise, you can be left holding the bag. So, yes and no for that. All right, let's see. What do we have here? What are the cheapest? All right, what? I think I've. How do I compare life insurance quotes? Well, the best way to do it is if you're just looking for life insurance quotes, find a broker that has access to multiple life insurance companies, and they can put in all your information into their database. They hit submit, and it'll show all of the carriers with the best prices. You'd probably want to work with a broker as opposed to a captive agent, just because a captive agent is only going to show you one. If you want to do it yourself, I would go directly to the carrier's websites. I do not trust any of these go-betweens online. Typically, they're gathering your information so it can be sold. And also be careful with the quotes too. Like there's not going to be a drastic difference between prices from one carrier to the other. Now, there's going to be some differences for sure, but I'm talking about drastic. Like there's a company out there that has a product that looks like a whole life insurance policy, and it's $50,000. So if you do a $50,000 quote from Mutual Omaha or any of the other whole life companies, you're going to see a certain price. And then if you go to this company, you do $50,000, you're going to see a much lower price. So you are going to think that you found that secret sauce that everybody's been looking for. You hit the jackpot, but the prices on that policy are just going to go up. So that goes back to trusting the people you work with and also reading the fine print. All right, can I have life insurance and critical illness cover? I don't know what that question is exactly. Critical illness riders, yeah, they have riders for critical illness. Typically, there are quite a few carriers that have the critical illness built into the policy. So if you're diagnosed with a terminal illness and you've got 12 to 24 months to live, there's quite a few carriers that will actually advance you part of the death benefit while you're alive. That is going to be, I think, standard is 75% of the death benefit up to $500,000. So if you've got $1 million coverage, they will advance you the $500,000. So you can maybe get alternative treatments. You can take care of some debts, have fun with the family, and then when you pass away, if you pass away, your family will get the other $500,000. What is guaranteed issue life insurance? This is a great question. This is Colonial Penn. Guaranteed issue means that there are no medical questions, right? Which sounds good. The only thing they base their prices on are your age and your gender. So guaranteed issues, they approve everybody, right? I mean, there could be some age restrictions where it's like 50 to 85. Some of them might not do it for people under 45. But yeah, you're gonna get approved for it. The policies are much smaller, but the downside to a guaranteed issue policy is there is a 2 to 3 year waiting period. It's my dog in the background, by the way. There's a 2 to 3 year waiting period. So if you are healthy, I would not recommend getting a guaranteed issue policy. See if you can get a day one coverage plan. If you're healthy, you're probably going to get a day one coverage. Colonial Penn is a guaranteed issue policy. I don't think they're completely clear of that in their advertisements. If you look at the fine print, it says limited death benefit at the bottom, but it's a 2 year waiting period. So meaning if you pass away in the first 2 years of natural causes, they will pay all the money back to your family plus 7 to 10%. But after the 2 years of natural causes, they'll pay the full death benefit. Or if you die of an accident in the first 2 years, they will pay the full death benefit. Life insurance, diabetic, and high blood pressure. This isn't as big of a red flag as it used to be for life insurance. Diabetes and high blood pressure. Typically, as long as it's controlled diabetes and controlled blood pressure, it's really not a huge factor anymore, especially for whole life insurance. Now, where it comes into play is if there's diabetic neuropathy, there's amputation, there's some kind of side effects because of the diabetes. That's where the life insurance companies start to raise some red flags. Best no exam life insurance in 2026. Yeah, most of them don't require it anymore. Most life insurance companies don't require a life insurance exam unless you go for a larger amount, or if you are a senior, or if you're 60 years old and you're looking for like a 20-year term or a 30-year term, they might have you go into a Quest Diagnostic Center for the blood pressure, blood work, and everything like that. Term versus permanent, I've already covered this before. How to lower life insurance premiums. Once you're locked in, the only way to really lower the prices is to switch policies. So it's better to try to find the company with the best prices out of the gate. I think one of the biggest things in the life insurance industry is always to cause people to doubt. That's why you see all these advertisements. You're paying too much, policy review, all of this stuff. So get a policy, make sure you're comfortable with the policy, and try to get the best one out of the gate. Life insurance payout time after death. I think I've discussed this. For larger amounts, I would give it a week or two after death. They do allow themselves 4 weeks to make the payout. Joint life insurance for couples. I have not seen this one in a while. So I think it's probably better to have 2 individual policies, one for each spouse. Convertible term life insurance. Yeah, this is an option that some term carriers have. I think it's 1 year prior to your term expiring, you can convert it to a whole life policy with the same health status that you had before. It's going to be a reduced coverage amount. So if you had like $500,000 worth of coverage, they might offer you like $50,000, $60,000 or less, and you would have to adjust the payment. So that's what convertible would be. There are some term policies that don't automatically expire whenever after the 20 years, 30 years, they renew at your new age. So you have to always look at the fine print. What is variable? Okay, I've covered that one. Life insurance for immigrants, non-citizens. I think you have to be a green card holder or H-1B visa holder for that. Let's see, second to die. Yeah, that's not common anymore. Let's see. I think that is all the questions. And I still have a viewer. So if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to chime in and ask them. Or you can remain silent, which is your right. No? All right, no questions. All right, well, my dogs are acting up a little bit. I might step away for a minute, but if anyone has any questions, I can also put the link to my agent page for Banner Term in here. In my opinion, this is the best term life insurance company in the US for multiple reasons. Not only the price, but the quality. So I will pull this up real fast and provide this in the link in the chat. Go ahead and submit that. And I'm going to pin it. Yeah, this is for Banner Term. If you want to get a quote from Banner Term and you would like to be my client, that would be the way to do it. If you want to go directly to Banner Term, you can also do that. You will not be my client. I get no money from that, but it is a great company either way. This is the Banner Term link. They don't ask any questions that you already don't know the answers to. Oh, excuse my desktop. That is messy, isn't it? So let's say you are a 30-year-old that does not smoke. Let's say you are a male in the state. States really don't matter too much as far as the price. You're in excellent health and you're looking for $500,000 worth of coverage for. If you're 30 years old, I would go with 30 years. That is what it costs to protect your family if you are a 30-year-old male in excellent condition. That is what it costs, guys. That is ridiculously inexpensive, right? I mean, I don't understand why every single parent doesn't have that. I don't understand why every single parent, everybody who brought a human into this world does not have a life insurance policy. It's insane to me. But that unfortunately that is how it is, I suppose. Can't really change it. I can't want it for people more than they want it for themselves, unfortunately. Let me see. But I am going to move that Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Can you hear me, Houston? There we go. I think I'm back. I'm live. Having a good time here. All right. All right. So the mic is working. I apologize for that for my one viewer, but it is working. And I just went through and got a price quote for ages 25 to 50 for a term policy of $500,000. I did the absolute best case and the absolute worst case. Now, the older you get, the less the worse your health is. The older you get, the more expensive it's going to be, obviously. And most people between the ages of 25 to, I'd say, 40 are in relatively good health, so the worst case won't apply. Worst case is they are barely going to get approved. There will probably be some underwriting and some follow-up questions, but they're in a situation where they're not in the best of health by any means. Nothing super severe, no like heart attack or stroke or anything like that in the past year or so, but they're barely going to get approved. Most people are going to either fall between this one or maybe in excellent health or very good health, which would be maybe 10% more in each one of those cases. So $30 for this person or $32. And the worst case is like the insurance company saying, hey, we're taking a big risk by insuring this person. This is what we're going to charge. Most people luckily are not going to fall into the worst case scenario. But I wanted to include that just for transparency, because anytime you see an advertisement, they show you the best price for the least amount of time. And I lost my viewer. I lost my viewer. I lost my view. All right, so this is best case, worst case. There is nothing really else to cover on this, other than the fact if you have kids, you should absolutely get life insurance. If you have kids, get life insurance. If you have kids under the ages of 18, get life insurance. I can't stress this enough. I mean, I can't really, if I could get a tattoo of that on my body, I would. Like, if you have kids under 18, get life insurance. That is one of the biggest things that I can say. Yeah. I think that unfortunately there are too many kids that lose their parents. 6,000 a week. 6,000 kids or 6,000 kids lose their parents every week. Kids under 18 lose their parents. These are 6,000 kids are not going to have a parent at their graduation or wedding or whenever they have a kid. These parents aren't going to be there. 6,000 kids every single week, and half of those kids, their parents don't have life insurance. They don't. You see the GoFundMe's, and it's so simple and so easy to eliminate that issue from your life, right? Like if you've got young kids, what is it? If you're in excellent health, 25 to 50, between $28 and $70 a month to cover this. It's insane that every single parent in the United States doesn't have a policy in place, provided that their health warrants getting a policy, and excluding the fact that they might be multimillionaires. But outside of those two issues, that it makes no sense to me that parents don't have something like this in place. It's fast, it's easy, it's inexpensive, and it provides so much protection for your family. The family that you promise to protect. So I'm not sure what the holdup is, but if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to ask them. And I am going to I might hop offline since there's no one really here, or I could check for some Facebook questions. Let me take a look here. Are there any Facebook questions? Any Facebook questions? What do we have? All right, let's see. Facebook questions. Life insurance. Father-in-law passed away. Okay. right, 3 reasons why you need to own your own life insurance policy. That is preaching to the choir. Maverick, what are you doing, buddy? Yeah, there are a lot of reasons why you need to control your own life insurance policy. You know, your job's not loyal to you, no matter how many team building exercises, how many times they say we're family. You need to control your own. Let's see, still waiting for something seriously to think about life insurance. Yeah, that's usually when people think about it. People start thinking about life insurance when they see someone their age or younger pass away and there's no life insurance in place. That's usually a driving factor for them to get life insurance. Some kind of health scare is a good time where people start thinking about life insurance. Unfortunately, depending on the health scare, that could increase the cost. So the best time to get it is whenever you're young, you've got kids, you can get a great rate. That is the best time. I wouldn't wait for someone to die without life insurance since you see the GoFundMe before you decide to get a policy. An old life insurance policy in a parent's name can go unclaimed for years. Okay. Yeah, the NAIC website. I covered that earlier. Go to the NAIC website. Make sure you have a copy of the death certificate if they ask and their social security number, and you can do a search to see if they, in fact, had any policies. And if they had a policy that was active during the time of their death, you are entitled to the death benefit. So yes, that is something to look out for sure. Be careful who you trust. Oh man, I hate this story so much. This is a lady who her son died in a fire on the 4th of July, and she thought she had life insurance. There was a guy going around taking up the payments every month. I think it was like $110 a month, which I think is high. It was for whole life insurance. She had a rider for the kid, so she got a receipt every month. It was a handwritten receipt. But whenever he passed away, whenever he died in the fire, she called. It was American Amicable. They weren't not affiliated with this issue, but that's who the person that quote unquote sold them the policy said that they had it with. So when she called American Amicable, they said we don't have any record of you on file. So the person that was collecting the money was just lying to her. He was keeping that money, and he would go around every month to make sure that he got his money. And more likely, he had like 50 or 60 different people like that, you know. So I hope they find the guy and they put him behind bars for the rest of his life. That's just my take on that. I mean, first of all, there are not enough parents to actually go out and get life insurance and then to be scammed when someone does. That is ridiculous, in my opinion. All right, so best baby child life insurance. I would say the best baby child life insurance would be a rider, an add-on to your policy. So if you have a kid, you get like a $500,000 $1 million policy. There's an option to add the kid on for a couple dollars a month. Unlimited amounts of kids, up to $10,000 of coverage, especially with banner term. So that's what I would do. Now, they have to be older than 16 or 6 months and younger than 16, but they can stay on the plan until they're 26 or until you turn 65. So that's always a good thing to have. And by the time they're 25, if they're married or if they have kids, they can get their own policy. Life insurance declined. Life insurance myth. I don't have kids, so I don't need it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are reasons why you should have it, but having a kid is the biggest reason to have it. The absolute biggest. All right, so this guy is a life and health agent. Adulting 101. Get life insurance while you're young. Yes, you're preaching to the choir. Get a large policy while you're young so it's inexpensive, and you can always add more, or you can cancel it when it's no longer needed. But if you're young and healthy, you are going to get the best rates. If something happens to you, your family's taken care of. So there's no excuse not to have it. All right, what else do we have here? A time of grief is not a time to crowdsource fund. Life insurance can help assure your family. Okay, yeah, of course, yes, I agree, 1,000%. I agree 1,000% with that. All right, let's see what else we have. Did you know? Okay. All right. Do you think life insurance is young and healthy? Look at the cost screen. John Doe's policy 25. Oh, good God! Look at this. 25-year-old, $1 million, 30-year term for 114 a month. Good God. Good Lord. That's insanely expensive, right? Didn't we just go through and pick the best and worst case scenarios for 500,000? Okay, well, I got a 330. Oh, they did a 30-year term for this person. Yeah, it would probably be about 200, but yeah, that's insanely expensive right there. I'm not sure what company she's going with on that, but that's a little too much money for those policies. Who y'all trying to see something? Trying to get that engagement. That's what they're trying to do. Let's see. Okay. All right, so I'm just going through here. I don't see anybody hopping on. It could be me. I'm going to stay active though. Let me take a look at a couple things here. What is this? What do we have? Dave Ramsey?
Brittany is with us in Johnson City, Tennessee. Hi, Brittany. How are you? I'm good. How are you, Dave? Better than I deserve. What's up? Okay, so my husband and I got FPU for our wedding, and we didn't get to the insurance part before we purchased life insurance, and we got part permanent and part term. And of course, we watched the insurance part last night, and we just got the life insurance about a week ago. So I texted our financial advisor because we immediately wanted to get rid of the term, or sorry, the permanent and just have term. And he said Dave Ramsey is talking about whole life permanent insurance, not portfolio-based permanent insurance, which is what you have. So is it still bad? Should we still just get the term? Yeah, apparently he doesn't know much about Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey does not ever invest. I was real clear in the lesson. You heard me. Yeah. I never tell you under any circumstances to use life insurance as an investment vehicle. 100% of the time it sucks. So would you say what we told him we wanted to do is I would say you need a new financial advisor.
Hold on, Jazz.
That's what I would say. You don't have a financial advisor. You have a life insurance salesman. Okay. Is selling you insurance. So what we were thinking we should do is switch to 400,000 just as term each, and then the money because it was like $300 a month, which was a lot. Yeah. And just go ahead and open up our Roth IRA and start getting money into that. Into good mutual funds. Okay. That's exactly what you learned in class, wasn't it? Yeah. So you already knew what Dave Ramsey said. Yeah, he just like. Which tells me one of two things: either this guy's a liar or he's ignorant. Right. He's a family friend, isn't he? Actually, one of our friends apparently gave him our number because
Hold on, guys.
Your class, you said, 20 years, 30 years, whatever was fine. And our term policy was until we were 80 with him. Okay. Why don't you jump on xanderinsurance.com and see what you can buy a 20-year level term policy for? I think it's going to blow your mind how much this guy's overcharged you for everything he sold you.
Hey, buddy.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, no one's hopping on the stream, so I'm going to hop off and feed the dogs, and maybe try to get some exercise in. All right, guys. Have a good one. I might go live a little bit later. Just I need to get some exercise in, and